It's a nasty bitch.
Why are you talking to yourself?
You come in, you drink all the coffee this morning.
This morning?
Left. You drink all of it. There was none left.
I barely had anything this morning.
I would like a little coffee drink or something to perk me up. I was going to say spark me up, but I don't even know what I'm saying. And then I see you sitting there sucking down a latte like a fiend.
It's not a latte.
It's a milk toast.
Lattes have espresso.
You're having a milk toast. So Trump in a truth called out your friend, dear friend, Kayleigh McEnany, Kayleigh McNamara, saying that she was milk toast, which he spelled like it sounds.
You're so stupid.
He did. He spelled it like it sounds. He didn't do it with the Q.
Yeah, I know.
Because she, on Fox, said something to the effect of DeSantis increasing in the polls, even though no polls have said that. I don't know what your take was on this, because I heard from some people that apparently she's been sniping. She's a sniper from the side. That's what I've been hearing.
I'm going to go. I'm going to make you mad. I'm going to take Ryan's position on this because I saw Ryan's tweet earlier.
Oh.
In fact, he was the reason I saw the truth.
Truth? About disloyalty?
Well, you praised people, you aligned with them, and as soon as they do one thing that might be considered the tiniest little slight, it's like dead to me.
Because Trump is a huge, messy faggot. How many times do I have to say this? People don't understand it. I think that they still think of Trump like he's just this, like, normal person. There's nothing about him that's normal. He is a big, messy queen. When you understand that, it all makes sense. No matter who's worked for him before, he will come out after you. He will say something nasty. It's part of the business. He'll also praise people who do not deserve it.
And
that's how it is.
If you do something in his favor, he'll love you again, that quickly.
Many people are saying it, and you know what? They're looking into it very strongly. I mean, to be honest, I never understood why people praised Kayleigh McEnany.
Sorry.
What?
Because I heard you say I never understood white people, and I was like,
I never understood white people.
What are you talking about?
They're milk toasts. I never understood the milk. We're going to stop calling them crackers, start calling them milk toast. I never understood why. And if you look back at all my tweets, anything I've ever written or said, I don't think I've even mentioned Kayleigh McEnany once. I really haven't, because it seemed like such a low IQ thing to just be like, look at her, she's owning the people on the left, because she is the press secretary and she said something that could be construed as sassy. Tony Snow was far sassier. I'm so tired of people praising this one-titted bitch. It's annoying. Enough. Just because she's blonde and semi-attractive does not mean that she had anything interesting to say. And the press is scum, and they're going to be scum.
Right. Many times she called them out, and she did I'm going to say she did the job well, in as much as she had her facts, she had her stuff. She was able to recall things. She wasn't like this bitch standing up there now flipping through a binder, 8 million pages deep and completely saying 100% false things, like 2 + 2 is 8. Like you expect her to be like, well, the Biden administration they're very strongly committed to the fact that 2 + 2 is 8. Like this is the shit
they're looking into it very strongly.
She's going to pull out, but at least Kayleigh knew her facts and knew where to find the information. If she had to look up something, it was very quick.
Who was before Kayleigh?
Wasn't it Sanders?
Sanders. Oh, Miss Piggy. He doesn't give a fuck. Next question. Honestly, I think that role was so unnecessary. especially
Press secretary?
yes, especially when you get to Trump, because he just did it himself. You don't need a press secretary for a rambling, insane person. They are their own press secretary. You need a press secretary for a president that's either that's completely out of it, like now, or that's so fucking boring. Like Gerald Ford needed a press secretary. I'm sorry. You need a press secretary for somebody that's just like room temperature. Anybody else does not need a press secretary. That's just unnecessary. I don't think that George W. Bush ever needed a press secretary, although Tony Snow seemed like a nice enough man. And Dana Perino. I almost called her Gina Carano.
What was the other guy's name that did it for a while?
Oh, Sean Spicer, who was also wildly overrated.
No, but that was Trump's. I'm talking about for Bush.
Before Tony Snow was...
He's a person on Fox again, like a regular on Fox.
Ari.
Yeah. I can't think of his last name. Fleischer?
Ari Shaffir? Yeah, Ari Shaffir was the press secretary. I would rather Ari Shaffir was our White House press secretary. It is a thankless job, and it harkens back to a day, I guess, where it was important that major networks had a comment by a certain time, and it also gives a pre-cut TV clip that they can make. The White House says, this office says, our federal bureaucracy says. But now they've had that bug-eyed guy from the Pentagon going out there, what's his name, Kirby or something like that, who goes out there and knows nothing about what he's talking about. Like he looks like a Mitt Romney purchased off a Wish. Like the eyes are kind of sticking out and he looks haggard, but still he manages to fit into a suit. I think that the job's time has come and gone. And you don't have that old Arab Helen Thomas in the front row anymore. And I don't think it's necessary. Do you think that there's a reason why we still have a press secretary? I think they should force the president to go out there and talk to the public instead. Like the coronavirus briefings, which were hilarious.
Yeah, but to his credit, he did those. And he was in front of the American people every day for months.
It was great. It was like my show every day. I just tuned in to see what insane shit would happen.
I mean, yes, I do think there is a need for the position. Namely because of exactly what you said before. Right now, especially, the bitch doesn't do a good job, obviously, but she does better than Biden would, I guess.
The bar's on the floor. That's
exactly,
what I mean.
Exactly.
Like,
but still, she is doing a function, even if it's a bad function.
I'm surprised that no one's hired, especially a Democratic president, has not hired like a major nightly network host to just be their press secretary. Like, why have they not picked like Elizabeth Vargas to? Well, I mean, they don't have enough booze in the White House, but why have they not picked Elizabeth Vargas to be press secretary or something?
So you mean why has it traditionally gone one way and not the other way? So these people who used to be press secretaries have then become,
right. Then they always spin out a media
people.
career. Or the circle back bitch. She is on MSNBC now. So it's like, what is it like?
She came out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden she has her own show.
Yes,
but yeah, I guess it would make sense to go the opposite way. Pick a press secretary who is part of the press.
I mean, I don't know why that hasn't happened yet, because you have people from the press who are now involved in other aspects of what the administration does.
That would make sense. I don't know.
I don't know why no one's done that. Especially if it's somebody who's...
You said something that made sense. Mark this down, people.
Oh, God. This is a day that will live in infamy. But enough about that thing that FDR knew about and didn't tell anyone. I was reading about that earlier, about how he knew about Pearl Harbor. Many people are saying, we're looking into it very strongly, that he knew and didn't give a fuck, and threw the commanders there under the bus, basically, after it happened. Threw them under the boat, but,
He's dead, they're dead, like...
There is still one survivor from the USS Arizona. This man is 102 years old, and he deserves a fucking apology.
To use a line from Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make, or whatever she said?
Of course, someone who's someone...
At this point, what difference does it make?
Someone whose incompetence led to many American servicemen deaths. There you go.
But
servicewoman.
Oh my.
Not woman.
No, she's the one who owns that Sorry, there's a very strange car that looks like it has been egged 30 times.
There's an egged Mercedes in front of the house.
And the girl who just got into it definitely fits the bill. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
She has the Kool-Aid hair.
Anyway,
there was one topic I have to get to, but you do your retinue, and then I'll do my little song and dance afterwards.
All I was gonna say was I think I'm actually teeing up your topic because I think I remember what it was.
It's a very auspicious day.
Hello, gay. Pride Month is upon us.
Well, that wasn't my topic. But, no, not even tangential. But that's okay. I'll circle back. Hello, gay. We are on the verge of another threatening Pride Month.
I remember you mentioned, so maybe this is a topic we can bring up then, the Target Pride merch that has everyone up in arms.
The future clearance rack.
And
tuck and run.
A few, apparently, conservatives are saying, I don't see a problem with this.
Philip Klein, who is the editor of the National Review, one of the editors. I don't know why a magazine has more editors than readers. But they have like 6 editors for nothing. I don't know who writes for them anymore. Like, it's a talk about a flop. But wrote something, basically, I mean, I think that we should probably read the tweet. That sounds a little bit better, if you can bring it up, from Philip Klein. But, I'll get to it. The running joke is that the National Review, especially David French and some previous of those, that style of contributor for both National Review, Weekly Standard, but that whole sort of vein of thinking, is that it's conservatism that is progressivism going the speed limit. So the idea would always be like the conservative case for wildly leftist talking point. So the conservative case for carbon tax. The conservative case for drag queens teaching kids things in schools. The conservative case for increasing immigration from Muslim countries. The conservative case for et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, did you find the tweet?
Yes, so I found the original tweet, which was from 2 days ago.
Yes.
But
Has he deleted it?
No, it's still here, but he apparently has made it into a National Review article and
course.
wrote more about it.
That's the only good thing
and
he's
so
done.
there's more to be said.
Well, what's the tweet?
So the original tweet that...
This is from Philip Klein of National Review, the editor.
Right, the original tweet that pissed you off was...
Pissed off everybody.
Oh, so, I'm sorry, this wasn't Target, this was Kohl's. So, someone had tweeted that Kohl's is pushing Pride for babies. So it had baby onesies with, like, the Progress Pride flag on it and all that shit. And Philip Klein says, quote, I don't have a problem with this. If somebody wants to dress their baby in a Pride onesie, why should it matter? We're not talking about transitioning minors here. It's just a shirt.
Now, it's so funny because a few years ago, I worked with the only baby store in West Hollywood.
I'm sorry, can I...
No, you just stepped on my fucking point. I don't care if you're sorry. What were you going to say?
Well, no, I was going to continue his reasoning because he had some tweets following up to that, which would have, I assume, leading into what you're talking about. Because he talks about the onesie. I apologize. I missed this. When leftists argue that men can have babies, they look ridiculous. When you're freaking out about a onesie, you do. Any response to... a response to my Twitter haters for my tweet. It's one thing to see Kohl's display and laugh and eye roll about a cringy example of corporate virtue signaling, but getting outraged is completely unnecessary.
Why?
So, yeah, anyway, now go ahead.
So first of all, everyone's cashed in their Kohl's cash now. Like, it's over. Like, their Kohl's stock is going down. Target stock is going down. Everyone's stock is going down who is selling ostensibly gay merchandise for kids. Now, I worked at a baby store in West Hollywood during Pride Month. And I might be the only person that can speak on this topic because there's only one baby store in West Hollywood. There was another one that sold designer clothes for kids called Couture Kids, but that one was... It didn't count. You're just selling mini Fendi stuff. Like, they didn't have their own merchandise. They just collated from other places. We actually were the only ones that made our own merchandise in the city of West Hollywood. So we are the only people who could... I'm probably the only person who could speak to this. When Pride Month came around... June 1st, knowing that people were going to be walking up and down and the parade route was there, we were like, okay, well, what can we do? Because we'd like to get some people in the store. This is going to be a real bad sales day for us. Because all that you're going to have outside is gays. These people don't have kids. Like, this is a very, very small group of very, very wealthy people who do have kids, but the majority of gays do not have kids and have no interest in kids. Okay. So, one of my gay coworkers, or the only other man who worked in the store, who of course was also gay, was like, I'm just going to put, like, he's like, I'm just going to put, like, a few different colors of fabric in the window. That's our little pride thing. Like, it's like the lamb's blood over the door, and maybe they'll leave us alone. And that was about it. Because the idea that a few years later, that we would ever be stocking something in our store, like a, not just a pride flag onesie, which is insane. Like, that in itself is insane. Like, we sold gendered clothing for children, even at a very young age. The only other thing that we did that could be construed in that direction is we also sold things in like a beige color and a gray color, which could be considered non-gendered. And that was for people to buy when you're going to an event and you don't know what the sex of the baby is. So you're not going to offend anybody by getting a gray or a beige onesie. But that's it. It was wildly inconceivable that you could have a flag that is not just the rainbow flag, but it's the rainbow flag with the trans stripes and the black and brown stripes jammed onto it, and selling that for children and babies. That is such a bizarre, sick idea. And then on Target having the tuck and run panties. So they have panties for young children looking to transition where you can tuck your parts into them.
Right.
And so it's like a bikini for men. It's so strange.
I honestly feel like it's... I understand... I don't even know how to word this, because it's... I understand both of your points, but I think... Obviously, I agree with you more. You should get angry about it. Maybe not because this is proof that they're trying to force transitioning on kids, whatever. But it's proof that you're using a child as a virtue signal.
Yes.
You're literally saying to the world, you know, even if I'm straight and I have a kid, or I'm gay, whatever, and I have a kid, I'm using this kid to broadcast to the entire world that I'm this ultra woke person, and I'm going to make sure that my child is as well.
Yes.
That's the kind of sick part about it. You're literally using your child as a billboard.
Right, because the pride thing is interchangeable with... I was at another store a couple of weeks ago, and they had, like, a children's book, and it was, like, Black Excellence for Young Men. And I'm like, oh, my God, what in the single mother gift is this? And it was, like, A for Afrofuturism, B for Bob Marley, you know, like M for Malcolm X. And I'm like, first of all, these kids can't read, period, at this point. Like, this is useless for them. B, this is such a weird construct that you are grafting an adult's conception of politics and the world at large and social justice and all these things that you have in your head onto a child who has not yet formed their own opinions for how the world works. And out of the same people's mouths will be, well, why is your kid praying? Why is your kid going to church? You're just trying to force your beliefs on a child and everything like that. Which is why I think they're trying to turn this holiday into gay Christmas. Because Christmas, they feel, is too religious of an event. Halloween is not enough for being a gay holiday. We have to make Pride and Pride Month in the same way that you know, holidays is a month. We have to make a celebration that is its own version of a annual holiday. And that's why it has to be spread to children. That's why it has to be spread in schools. That's why you have this sort of ridiculous approach to it.
I'm flustered because, again, I understand slightly his point in that you shouldn't get completely bent out of shape. But still, you should, in the exact ways that I mentioned and that you've mentioned, but you should absolutely get bent out of shape about what you mentioned earlier, which is the tucking what is it? Is it a tucking?
It's tucking
underwear or
yes,
something?
it's swimwear.
Because that is
bottoms.
literally that's literally, not forcing, but like advocating transitioning
Right.
minors, and
Right.
and that's where we've gone. Is there something past the deep end? Like,
But that's why the weirdest thing is that the rainbow, which is it's more of a Christian symbol than other symbols, has now been turned into it's skirts that your child can wear during this period of time, and your child who is a boy can dress as a girl, and all these things. There's something very odd about it, and it's very recent. Because this is the thing. Would we be doing this 10 years ago? In 2013, if you saw an adult putting their child in opposite gendered clothing that they bought at Target, you'd be like, what the hell happened? Like, there's no way that you would be looking at this and being like, that there's something wildly suspicious about this situation. Or even a child wearing something that had a nakedly political statement like a rainbow flag with the brown and black pride thing attached to it, or the BLM fist, or whatever other cause that people had. Like, that's so odd.
yeah, and again, I can only go back to the analogy of it. It's a billboard. It's a let me show the world how woke I am and how much I feign that I care about something. But again, this is being marketed to, as you suggested, everyone, not just gay people, not just gay families, not just gay parents. This is literally being marketed to, if you're straight and you're a ally, and you for God's sake, you want your child to be gay or something like that, put them in this onesie or something. Like,
that was an ab-fab joke. She was like,
Right.
I hoped that. She was
Right.
like, I prayed that
I
you were
prayed
gay.
that he was gay,
Like,
yeah.
I prayed that my child was gay. I blasted Madonna towards myself. That kind of thing. Like, I wanted.
Now it's
it was
not a
like, oh,
joke.
that's a ridiculous woman. And now it's like you have actual horrible women who are like, I want to force a gender or sexuality on my child. And by the way, this is a female-driven problem.
but do you think it's going to be a fleeting trend? Because it is currently in vogue to be not even gay anymore. It's in vogue to be non-binary or trans.
Yes, and that's why I think that trans is on the way out. I think that full transitioning will be supplanted by the non-binary and queer thing, because with the trans thing, unlike a lot of these other situations, you actually have to do something. You have to take a medication, you have to have a surgery, you have to do something like that. That's very extreme. That's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something that is always done safely. But with non-binariness and queerness and everything like this, you can just fucking say it. You don't have to do anything. You don't even need a haircut. You can just go along and be like non-binary or queer, but at least I'm not like those filthy straight people. You can be a woman in a straight relationship and be queer. They don't count anymore. Like, the rules don't count.
Which, I'm sorry, there's now like 3 more topics that are spinning out of my head.
Branch into them.
First of all, on the same topic of the Pride merchandise, you saw some of the other Target stuff, right? So there was a T-shirt that said "Live, Laugh, Lesbian," and because everyone knows, the live, laugh, love, and we all make fun of it because, like, that's a boomer thing, right?
Right.
I almost feel like they're mocking lesbians by making this shirt. Because it's like, we know that you don't really exist anymore. We know that you're not really going to buy this shirt. So we're going to kind of make fun of you. I don't think that was a legitimate shirt. Like,
yeah, talk about people being supplanted. Well, and they had some Satanist artists do things for, like, use some of their artwork, and Target was like, look at this local queer vendor that we've now copied around our 15,000 stores across the country. Like, In the same way that Target had a booth that was like, this black female entrepreneur created this line of candles.
Well, is that... Are you referring to... So I saw something going on Twitter, but I thought someone said it was fake, where it said... it was like a pin that said... Satan respects pronouns or something like that, and I'm just like,
no, I don't.
I'm really hoping that's fake.
I don't think that item was sold at Target.
Okay.
I think that they commissioned some Etsy artist or whatever who has those things in their store, and that's an example of the merchandise that they sold.
Okay.
And then they had a watered down version of whatever for Target that was like, it's okay to be gay, like whatever things.
But yeah, so
But it's been fully co-opted at this point. I mean, there's nothing less brave than saying that you're gay or whatever. That's all the other things.
Secondly, your friend, your dear friend, Mr. Mulvaney.
Mick? Oh, Dylan. That's another weird Trump hire. That Mick Mulvaney guy was he was like a thumb with glasses.
No, I'm referring to Dylan Mulvaney.
He knows how to do budgets.
Have you seen the newest thing on him?
I know.
So apparently she released a video saying he told his parents that he's now interested in women.
He's a lesbian.
So this was a man,
Right.
who said he was gay. No,
Yes.
sorry, who said he was bi at first.
Right.
Then he went gay.
Right.
Then he said, no, I'm a trans woman.
Right.
And now he's made the full circle back to, I like women. I'm interested in women.
Something about that whole thing doesn't sit right.
And it gets even worse. Because then he on the video, he said, I had to tell my parents that, I had to break it to them that I was kind of romantically interested in women now. And my dad said, oh, well, I'd love to see you get a woman pregnant. And Dylan said, oh, no. She would get me pregnant. And that's when I lost. I turned off the video. I'm like, this is parody, right?
He's taking the piss.
This is not, like, you cannot possibly
Right.
be serious.
That's why I think that with the Bud Light thing, I genuinely think it was taking the piss. Because in the video or in the announcement or wherever, it was like, hey, I don't even like or drink beer, but I just saw this thing and it's really cool. I think it was a joke that spun out of control. I genuinely do. Because there is no way that someone there was seriously thinking that you were going to get more people, LGBTQ or whatever, to drink Bud Light. Or that you were not going to piss off the legions of people who do drink Bud Light, which is now careening into becoming less than the number one beer in the U.S. I think Modelo is passing it, which unfortunately is still owned by Anheuser-Busch, but, there you go. I think that the seltzer companies are the ones that succeeded in this passing because, just get a White Claw, get a Happy Dad. It's crisp, refreshing, and has electrolytes. And only 10 calories.
And should start paying us.
Please, God. Be our only sponsor. But I genuinely think that as we go into Pride Month and everything like that, no one's going to be cracking open a Bud Light. Don't play with the court. You're going to pull it out. So, there was a couple of things. Getting back to electoral politics.
Oh, okay.
We have two new potential entrances into the presidential race.
Okay.
And these are young, fresh faces, people that...
Oh, I thought you were alluding to Chris Christie, and now I know you're not.
Yes, this young...
Oh, wait, are you?
This young, fresh face, Chris Christie. And also...
Sorry, I stepped on your joke.
No. Good thing. This young, fresh face, this governor of New Jersey you never heard of, who's never run for president before, Chris Christie. We're really, reaching out to the next generation here.
I hate you so much.
And then,
because I thought you were being serious for once.
No.
For once in your life, I thought you were being serious.
But who the fuck else is new? Like what?
Well, I was curious. I was like, what does he know that I don't know?
Vivek Ramaswamy? Vivek Ramaswamy?
I fell for your bullshit, and I'm pissed at myself now.
Good. And another young, fresh face another little-known governor. His name is Pence? Mike Pence? I don't know if you've ever heard of him either. Both of which are running. And
both of whom?
Both of when.
Can't use which with people.
He's a witch. I can use it all I fucking want. Are deciding to run for president. They're deciding to see who gets up to 2%. Help me understand the psychology here. Because a lot of people ran for president in 2016.
Don't ask me.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of people ran for president in 2016. Some of them got picked for positions. And I think wrongfully so. You had this field of 16 candidates. About half of them ended up in the Trump White House, and the other, no one turned into critics of Trump. Now everyone's a Trump critic. But Trump is running again, and you have two people, one person who was his vice president and one person who he ran against and just wailed on in 2016, dangled the job of attorney general and then rescinded it, trying to run again. I guess I just have a question. What the fuck is their problem? What do you get out of this? Do you get a few more cable news hits? Like, you can't sell another book at this point. You're done. Like, what does Chris Christie have to offer this country still? If anything at all.
It's a valid question because everyone says, people don't run for... These lower people don't actually run for president. They run for, what do they say, cabinet positions or whatever, which, is understandable. But at this point... Which it
seems like Nikki Haley is doing again, at least.
Right. But at this point, you're right. Neither of those, if Trump were to win,
Trump will never talk to Mike Pence again.
No. Neither of them have any chance in hell of getting anything from him.
Right.
Maybe they're thinking DeSantis is going to get the nomination.
What good would it do for DeSantis to have either of them in his administration? The vice president from the last one, who is now so unpopular he can't enter a room without being booed, or the former governor of New Jersey who was brought down on corruption charges and has just had a career now the past 10 years of just going on cable news and complaining. Neither of which have anything new or interesting to offer.
I don't know.
Well, and speaking of which, I listened to Megyn Kelly.
Maybe they just have a lot of money to burn. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. Maybe they get money out of this. I was listening to the Megyn Kelly show, which I have to say I pleasantly like. I've not always been the biggest Megyn Kelly fan, but her podcast is very good. And one of the reasons why is she records it at the Sirius XM studios, so it's very good quality.
Yeah.
Some podcasts, if they don't record that, like, I'm sure that ours has vocal variations in and out, but it's broadcast quality. Like, it's excellent. I was listening to her show, and she was really angry about the DeSantis launch. And she was talking about how bad it was. And she had someone who's a DeSantis supporter, someone who's not coming on, like, what happened? You had... It sounded like a plan B, is what was my takeaway, I think, from all of it. It sounds like they planned a rally, and either the venue wouldn't do it, or they couldn't get enough people to show up. And so they're like, well, then we'll do the plan B thing, which is just to launch on Twitter. Someone with his voice doing an audio-only launch is already a risk. And second of all, it crashed the whole platform. The platform is not ready to have spaces with more than 10 to 20,000 people. It's not, Clubhouse, even the most listened to Clubhouse chat, I think, was only a few thousand people.
Right.
So the technology is not ready to have simultaneous audio listening capabilities live with the ability to also be added into the conversation and speak. It just doesn't exist yet. So, it's like a giant Zoom call.
I apologize. Can you repeat? So Megyn Kelly was saying she thinks that was the reason that he chose to do this, or
no? She does. She was.
Or you think that?
I think so.
Okay.
She was flabbergasted as to it. She's like, I do not understand why this was a good idea. She said, do it on day 2. Do it on the 3rd day of your campaign. Do it the first week as a little also. But the part that people remember the most, the part that gets covered on the cable news, and the part that will always be remembered is the launch. Everyone talks about Trump in the staircase. That has now entered U.S. history textbooks. Everyone remembers that. I mean, the Mexican rapist speech. Like, those are I sound like that Whitney clip where she's like, that's history. But this is not It's going to be remembered that it got off. Even people who are sympathetic are like, this was not a good start.
So, to push back, and this is not my opinion, this is someone else's opinion that I heard talk about this. They were confused about the choice of doing it on Twitter as well, but partially because no one in history has had a memorable announcement for president, like running for president. Like, that's just not something that's ever remembered. The closest thing was maybe the escalator, Trump coming down the escalator or whatever. But that's only because it was so recent.
Well,
like, no one, you cannot think back in history of like, Eisenhower, these announcements for running for president, none of them have ever been historic. None of them have ever been remembered.
Well, it probably gets more coverage in the more recent years than it did in the past because media's changed. But for God's sake, Hillary rented out all of Roosevelt Island in New York to do her launch. Like, rented out a fucking island in the middle of the river.
But no one really remembers that. Like, you might. I
I do because I'm a political person, but a lot people probably don't. And then if you look at the Biden thing, it was all about tying it to Charlottesville, white supremacy. Like, that was a big part of the announcement. And I think the idea is you want day one to craft a narrative. So with Trump, there was almost this like. It was almost this Greek tale of someone coming down from the heavens and we're going down the gold escalator to speak in this beautiful, opulent, marble and brass lobby. With Hillary, it was this idea of like, I'm starting in New York and I'm I have the people around me and this time we're going to do it. Sorry. This time we're going to do it and we're going to make it, this big, with the skyline in the background, this big sort of dramatic thing. In the same way that when people do the election night, they have their speech at a big venue in a big hall. This most recent Trump launch was in a ballroom at Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
Not my choice. I would have chosen a different venue. I thought it was fine. He was actually very serious for once, so it was not on the more exciting side. But it was at least, the backdrop, and I'm proud to be an American and the flags and all that stuff. So there was at least some sort of pageantry to it. But already there's an ad where Trump put up his announcement speech with, and I'm proud to be an American, and then DeSantis' speech where you're hearing like the dial-up sound of like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because they couldn't get his audio to load. So that's not...
I just have a feeling that people in his camp were probably thinking, this will be memorable because it's something... we're embracing technology, we're embracing future,
right.
We're embracing a new generation of people who use Twitter. The boomers don't use Twitter. Like, right. They don't know what a Twitter space is. So his people were probably thinking, we'll target a different generation, a different segment of the population, and in doing something weird and interesting, and it just backfired.
Well, it's not like they launched it like an art gallery in Dime Square. Like, that would be something to get the young people involved. But instead, this idea of doing it on Twitter, you're right. Because they got Elon involved in it. They did their first ad had more of Elon in it than it had of DeSantis. And it's like this, it's the future and we're doing this and this and this. And that's all well and good if you're Al Gore. But if you're launching a serious campaign, you're getting at max 600,000, which is what I think Joyanne Reid gets on MSNBC for her viewers. Like the live stream, the average like Fox show gets more viewers on one channel than this did. The average CNN's coverage of Trump's last speech got more coverage than the DeSantis thing. That's just one network in the 25 to 54 demographic alone. Not even all of the viewers, just in that demographic, got more than the 600,000 viewers of this thing. And I think it's your number one criticism from people who would otherwise vote for you is that you are not ready, you're not tested, you're not up for the highest office yet, maybe at some point in the future. Why would you want to reinforce that criticism by using a not ready technology that makes you look amateurish?
Yeah, I mean, it was a gamble and he lost. Honestly.
It was. And the worst part is I can respect some gambles. I don't know if I respect that gamble. There's good gambles and there's dumb ones. That was kind of a dumb one. I think a good one would have said if we simulcast it on Twitter Spaces, or you can ask me questions afterward on Twitter Spaces and I'll answer them. That was another thing that Megyn Kelly mentioned. She's like, why are there only like 5 friendly people in here asking scripted questions while he delivers scripted answers? Like, why are you talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin when that's not even the number 10th or 20th issue that people poll is what they're interested in?
Yeah, no, that I do agree was a huge...
Like, why are you veering into
Stupid thing.
the nerd stuff? That just doesn't... It's so easy to write off. And that was why the whole time I was sitting here begging him, don't run, don't do this, don't launch this way. Why would you go on a Twitter space? This is dumb. Like, why would... This is not the time. Like, don't do it. Because you might have ideas that are very good. You might be suited for a role. The more that this campaign goes on, the less I believe in his ability to do this. I think he's in way in over his head, and I think that the advisors around him are giving him awful advice on this being a good idea. The way that DeSantis could have played it, I think, was to be very nice to Trump, maybe angle for a position as VP, or some other kind of cabinet level job, or be, oh my God, could you imagine he was head of the Department of Education, and he just changed that entire bureaucracy? That would have more of a positive benefit than anybody in public life in the past 25 years. Like, there were so many things that you could have done, and I think that the wrong people got involved. Like, yeah, run. And so I think it's a fatal error because I think the people aren't going to take him seriously when he decides to run again. I mean, I didn't take Trump seriously after his first, like, almost run in 2012. That bothered me because when he came back in 2016, I'm like, I remember right when they were like, he's going to announce, I was like, he better be serious or I'm not interested. Like this, like, I'm going to run around. Oh, at the end. Like, I remember at the last minute, he's like, oh, I'm not going to do this.
But even when he announced, a lot of people wrote it off as a joke and it was never going to actually become a thing.
Yeah, I think that, remember, even up until election day, they were like, he's a spoiler for Hillary, or he doesn't actually want to win. Remember the whole, like, liberal narrative? You know he doesn't want to win. Melania was crying on election night. She was hoping that he didn't win, all this stuff. Like, that was such, like, a weird... Remember how much fake pop psychology happened from 2016 to 2020 about Trump and his mindset? All of that is gone now, but there's so many Atlantic and Slate think pieces about like what was really in his mind. He was on Adderall, like crazy speculative shit that no one else could get away with anybody else.
I don't remember, right before we wrap this up, I apologize if I said this. I don't remember if I said this on the last episode or not because we talked about something similar. So if I've said this, I'll say it really shortly. I'm pretty sure I just said this to you though. I honestly think the only way, if we're going to have a complete rematch of 2020 with Trump versus Biden, I really think the only way that Trump is going to win is if we have kind of a repeat of 2016 where a lot of those moderate people either vote third party or stay home. Because they're going to look at both of these people and say, I don't want to vote for him. I don't want to vote for him. Let me either find a third party or I'm just not going to vote at all. Because
so you're saying that it takes more people on the left to do that, because there was a New York Times article where people, it was like 12 Biden voters who were like, I really have many issues with him and I wouldn't vote for him again, except seeing that he's running against Trump or DeSantis, and now I feel like I have to. So what percentage of those are going to be I feel like I have to Biden voters?
Right.
Because they might be a decisive force. That's a real concern.
Because that was the problem. And I was convinced on election night of 2016, and other people have just gone to basically, it's proven point now. Trump didn't win because he was liked. Hillary was hated so much that he won because she was hated so much. Like, people either voted third party or didn't vote at all on the left because they really hated Hillary.
I think that people win, or at least have won in the past few elections, based on curiosity of outcome. I think when you had a stiff like Al Gore running up against George W. Bush, I think people were more curious about what this silly Texan's going to do. I think in 2008, they looked at McCain and they saw old and staid and whatever, and they looked at Obama and they're like, well, What's the worst that can happen? Like I'm curious at the outcome. Like it's so one level removed, and I think that's why Obama beat Romney, and I think that's why in 2016 it was like, well, we could have Hillary, who is like Bill Clinton but worse, like in every way possible, and takes away all of Bill Clinton's good qualities and adds some very bad ones, or we could get this guy who's kind of shooting from the hip and everything like that. I think at the end of 4 years they were like, we're a little burnt out of all of this. We're curious how the kind of doddering, silly old guy is going to do. And now, there is nothing to satiate voters' curiosity because we're in a very rare situation here. We have a wildly unpopular incumbent who's most likely going to be challenged by a somewhat very unpopular previous incumbent. Yeah. That hasn't happened at this stage. I don't think that any primary candidate stepping forward has any capacity to unseat that. I think the only way that you get a curious outcome in this election is if RFK wins. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think it would be allowed on the left to even happen. But that's the only way you get the, you know what, let's kick open this door and see what happens result.
Well, you know, the politicians on the left are not going to let it happen, but
right.
I know for a fact there has to be enough citizenry on the left who's calling for at least debates. You know, right. Have Biden debate RFK and Marianne Williamson, and isn't there like one other person that, like, a minor person that's kind of thrown their hat in the ring? But have some type of forum, at least one debate. Like, it doesn't have to be a series of like 3, 4, however they used to do it.
It doesn't even have to be a debate.
One.
Just have 3 stools and a CNN moderator and have the audience ask questions. You don't even have to people
like
go against each other.
Type thing.
I like town halls better than debates, only because debates have drifted so far from how a debate is structured. And this is someone who did debate. Like, this whole debate thing is not happening. So, I don't know. I think that that's the only way that you can get a more unique outcome. And I remember for the longest time in the past 3 elections, they've been talking about, like, you know, Bob Iger is going to run third party, or, you know, Oprah is going to run third party. All these third party saviors. I think everyone's so dead to the idea of a third party person. Even when these primaries contract and everything like that, I think that it's not. As much as people may think that they want a third party candidate, I think people have realized it's so impossible. If Bernie can't get a nomination for a major party, what in the hell do you think a third party person is going to do? I think that the most popular third-party person would be Trump, and he would get under 40% of the vote. I think he might even get under 30% of the vote as a third-party person, which is not enough to win. Because at least 20 to 25% of Americans will vote for him regardless.
We get back, though, to something we've talked about before, and I swear I'll end it with this. It's anytime you have a third-party candidate, it's going to split the right.
Right.
Because the left knows how to play as a team.
Right.
They are the ones who, and the one exception, I think, was, again, like we said, 2016, where they didn't go out and vote for Hillary.
And look at what happened.
They are vote blue no matter who. You know, that's their motto. They play as a team. They always win because they play as a team.
But look at what happened.
If we split the vote on the right, we always lose.
That's what they got. Because they treated Bernie so badly in 2016, they put a gun to everyone's head in 2020 and said, if you do not vote for this old lunatic, you will have horrible things happen. Your child will be forced to transition back to their actual gender. Like they threw everything. Like millions of trans people will die. Like minorities will die. Everyone will die if you don't vote for Biden. They literally threatened the American public, which is a problem in and of itself, and it worked. But they can't do that again. You can't do that 2 elections in a row. You cannot threaten people 2 elections in a row on the same side. So if they have that off the table,
they're going to try.
No, they can't. It doesn't work anymore. It really doesn't. And the only way they would do it, I think, is if we ran DeSantis on the right. Because if you run DeSantis, I've already seen that things like that. The Biden administration's been talking against him more. Your press secretary gal, your favorite, is talking against him. And they're going to say he wants to kill gay and trans people. Look at what he's done in Florida. As wildly untrue and sick as it is to say something like that, they will threaten that and they will win.
Yeah, no, they've already painted him as worse than Trump, which
Yes.
might actually shoot them in the foot.
Well, because that's the thing is some people have said, well, the left wants Trump to run. And I think the left wants DeSantis to run. I think that they see the inherent weakness and they see that he doesn't have the capability to win. I think it'd be like 52. I don't know if DeSantis could crack 45. It would be like 52-38. And then a large percentage of undecideds voting for whoever. Joe Jorgensen.
Oh, God, I hope they don't put her up again.
Or Jill. But
Tulsi, come save us. I don't know.
Oh, God. Well, maybe.
Well,
Well,
I don't... they've been so nice to listen to this bullshit rambling, so... But go fuck yourselves anyway.